Welcome to our weekly New Gambia platform talk show. Today is March 27, 2020. Today we're going to be talking about societal and government responsibility to violence crime. So our discussion going to focus on that and then see what are the ways to prevent violent crime in our communities, as well as the government's responsibility and our people's responsibility as well. So I have my co-host here, Sam Ceesay, Indiana. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you.
And I'm your host, Momodou, Sawaneh in New York. Sam, so this is there's a lot of rising crime in the country, as we can see in the Gambia and even in the US here. And in Gambians all over the place, Africans, we are experiencing a whole lot of violent crimes. So, but we're gonna focus it on Gambia. We had two guests that's supposed to come to the show today, but unfortunately, they didn't show up. Because they didn't get the invitation early. So, my apology on that. So, but we're gonna carry the show as planned. So Sam, I'm gonna let you come in and then we can, go into this program in details. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Sawaneh, and thanks to our viewers for really taking part and being part of this program as well. It's when you talk about security is very important in any democratic state, in any state. So in America, security is provided. We are secured. We have, even though there's violent crimes, there are crimes all over the world, anywhere you go. But there is security, so we can't blame that. We can't say the government did not provide security. Well, in Gambia is the other way around. In Gambia, people's security is very important. And it is the responsibility of the government to provide security for people. Gambia is not like America with gun violence and things like that, but there is some issues in there with theft and armed robberies and break-ins and people starving people and all kinds of things that happen in there. And part of the problem is we don't have security. People are not secured. There is a responsibility for the government. There's also some responsibility that the society need to take as well. So for the society, I'm going to start with, people can really protect themselves by doing all the basics that they need to do, basics, home protection, self-protection, by securing their places. I know, I don't want to go overboard here because in Gambia is not like here. Every compound is has security doors and all that stuff. And some places you can just walk into the gate, into the compound, into the property that are not secured. So Gambians need to wake up and start to think along that side. As to what can we do as a head of a household? What can you do to protect your family? There are several things you can do, and not everybody can afford to build a nice tall fence to protect intruders from getting into your place. Not everybody can afford that, but there are basic things that they can do. One that includes really making sure that your property is secured. If you want to protect your people, your family, and you have a fenced gate, a fenced around your compound, really make sure that your gate is secured. But another thing that is very simple, doesn't cost a whole lot of money, is really neighborhood watch. Neighborhood watch is very important. We do that in America, just like they say, you see something, you say something, very important. You see something, you say something, and let's watch each other's back. You watch my back, I watch your back, and you see something suspicious, alert the people that need to know about it, especially authorities that can do something about it. But the neighborhood really need to collaborate to make sure that they can protect their own environment, to make sure they come together as one. Anytime criminal activity begin to start or comes their way, they should all come out and help each other there to be able to capture these intruders, especially if they're not armed, capture them and call the police and hand them to the police. That is the right thing to do. Providing dogs are very, very important. If you have a dog in your place, it's important. I know in Gambia, we look at dogs as dogs, they're just animals, they're just dogs, but dog is not just a dog. A dog can really save your life. If you think about it from that standpoint, having a dog at your house, at your property, if you have a fence yard, you make sure daytime your dogs or dogs are protected, that nobody can get them, they can't go anywhere. But at the same time, nighttime, leave them freely in your compound to be roaming around and to stay up front there. So any intruder that jumps into your property, they will be attacked by the dog. And just the fact that the dog makes a lot of noise when attacking something or somebody, that noise is what's going to be the best alert for you, the homeowner, the head of the household, to be able to get up and get yourself prepared to be able to go out and face this, and maybe not go out, but be able to take appropriate actions to really get this intruder, because the dog is going to fight this intruder to get them out. So there are things that we can do at home to protect ourselves. In America, I have a dog in my house here. In America, we have dogs in the house. In Gambia, nobody wants dogs in their house. Well, because they are dog and they're animals. They're animals. They have their rights as well. They are, living things, and they need to be protected as well, because they're there to protect you. They're helping you, protecting you, and they're alerting you of something that is happening, which is a good deal. So the reason why people have dogs in America and overseas in their houses is because you wash that dog also. You have to wash them. You have to give them a bath and clean them so they can stay in the house with you. And most importantly, most people in America, you don't see houses or compounds all fenced around. That doesn't happen. So if you have a fence, you have a fence in your backyard, like I do. I have a fence in my backyard. In my backyard is fenced. I can let my dog loose out there and go do and play out there and do whatever she needs to do, and no problem, and then open the back door to let them in. So Gambia is different. They want to leave them in the compound. We just need to make sure our gates are secured, that the dogs can't run out and go out and things like that, and not get used to everybody. Because when they get used to everybody, then what happens is when intruders come in, the dog can just get used to them as well. And we need to train our dogs not to do that. But anyway, the second part is, I'm spending too much time on this. The second part is the government. The majority of the responsibility falls in the hands of the government. And this was part of the reason during the coalition from the 2016 campaign or elections, there was a manifesto that also said that there should be security reform. In the security reform, and you tell anybody security reform, in my mind, what needs to happen is really secure reform our security sector so that they can protect our country. Meaning the police need to have the tools and technology and equipment that they need, meaning vehicles. The police need to be armed in Gambia. They really need to arm the police so that the bad guys will respect the police, knowing that they have vehicles, they have transportation, enough of them. They have walkie-talkies to be able to communicate to each other and report crimes, and be able to run there quickly, really quickly to get there. And also because they are armed to protect themselves, they will be able to go after these bad guys. But who in the world, as a police officer in Gambia, will go out with a flashlight and going to attack bad guys with guns? Who's going to do that? Nobody's going to do that. And not only that, they are not paid enough. So as part of the security reform, tools, technology, communication system, transportation, armed, they need to be armed, but they also need to be paid for them to be able to sacrifice their lives. If you pay a police officer, I don't know how much they pay them, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, that's not enough. That's really not enough for them to be able to sacrifice their lives. You've got to arm the people, give the police what they need for them to protect you. If you don't give them that, they can't protect you. So the bad guys already know the weak point of the police. One, they don't have any vehicles. If they have vehicles, they don't have any fuel. Two, they don't have any weapons. And three, they're not going to get there because even if they get there, they're going to delay before they get there. So the bad guys will do what they need to do and get out before the police gets there, because there's a delay in communication, transportation, and of course, not having any weapons to protect themselves. The bad guys can take charge and do what they want to do and go. So that's the part there that the government need to look at and really secure the police so the police can secure the people. And you don't need the army to go after people. That's the job of the police. The Interior Department really need to make sure that the police are armed, they have vehicles, they have walkie-talkies, they have everything they need to be able to secure people. That's what needs to happen. And that's when they can fight crime. You know, very, very, very important. They will be able to fight crime. But I'm going to stop here and allow you, and then take a deep breath and then come back again.
All right. Thank you, Sam, for that wonderful, points that you just mentioned. First, like I said, when we talk about crimes, violent crimes in our communities, in our societies, we need to look at first, what are the cause? What are the cause factors of these violent crimes? Why do we have our folks involved in crimes? So there must be a root cause of that, because we have, if you look at the West here, we lived with other communities, right? So why is it that we are singled out as being the one committing violent crimes? So that is the issue. There is a cause for everything. And unless we get to the root cause of what causes these things, we wouldn't be able to solve the problem, And I'm gonna tie, the issue here that we're discussing from back home and then in the West here, what we've seen, because some of these actions, we do back home also, we do them here even to another level. Okay. Now, if you look at Gambia now, it's not safe. I had record number of, robberies happening. People have been robbed broad daylight, and sometimes they've even been gone pulled on them, in their homes, and they've been threatened and so forth. If they don't if they resist, they're gonna get killed. So the situation has two folds. It has us as a society, our responsibility to combat this, and the other fold is the government. Why are they not protecting our people? Why now? Why is this happening now? The people pay their tax money to the government so that they can protect them, put them in policing, in military, security. But here we go, criminals are doing bank robberies, they're stopping people, stealing people's home, attacking them on the street. Why now? So that is a question that I believe the government would have to take responsibility. Whatever the security apparatus they have in place, either the devices, the manpower, they need to explore into that in details. It's highly important. They need to put resources there. If the police need more trucks, more communication tools, more walkie-talkies, more presence on the street, more community policing. We need to make sure that every citizen feels safe. And that is definitely the responsibility of the government, because we pay our money to the states to be secured. Security is number one. Then we talk about other things. But if we don't feel safe, people's lives are threatened, they can't go about their business. They can't go about their business. They can do certain things that they need to do. So it's highly important that we focus on, the government focus on that. And when you look at the West here, on the other hand, we have pockets of communities. Like, for instance, the area that I live, we have many African Americans, as well as, many Gambians or Africans. Now, there, if you look at the violent crimes, our community has a lot of responsibility when it comes to violent crimes here. Although the government do also have, especially, the leading party here, the Democratic Party, they need to do their fair share and make sure the guns are off the street. Because if they don't do that, if they don't combat, the National Rifle Association, all these gun makers, there will be guns going to the wrong hands, and easy access to guns and violence will actually escalate violent crimes. So their job is to make sure that the guns are off the street by any means necessary. And I know the Congress here and the legislations have been working on towards that to make sure that they put the guns off the street. You only have to get a gun when you are licensed and when you have the background checks. When you have been tested that you are not insane and you have a reason for it, like either self-defense or hunting. Okay, when it comes to the societal part, we as parents, it's about time we be there for our kids. We often go and work long hours. We don't care about what happens at home. Our kids are on the street. We are not beside them, giving them the love they need, giving them the caring they need, and we let them lose. What happens if you let somebody lose? They could go with anyone. They can get in trouble easily. They can go and get involved in drugs and other things. So we as parents here and as community, our responsibility is to make sure that we build a community by sensitizing our parents how to be part of their kids' life. Make sure that when their kids are going to games, they're there with them. I know it's time demanding. I know it's a lot of work, but that's what makes it better to raise a good family. If you don't do that, then you're gonna neglect that part of your responsibility. And what happens? What happens is that your kid's gonna fall for the bad guys on the street. And they're gonna start standing on the street corners, talking, maybe even doing drugs. And they're gonna go with gangs. And that's why we see a record violence, breaking violence here in the US, especially in the Black communities. So it's about time for us as parents, anywhere we are, as Gambians, people of color, Africans, we take responsibility wherever we are. Our kids, our community. It doesn't even have to be your kids. Let's say, Sam, you are in this community. Don't look out only for your child or your kids. You can extend the sensitization, the caring, and the teaching of good ethics to other kids. Let's have a community organizations. Let's have masjids. Let's preach the word of peace and good upbringing to our children. Let's be showing love, appreciation, going to their birthdays parties, going to their parent and teachers conference, taking kids out for some time for lunch or dinner. The more we put focus on them in their upbringing, the better they become responsible and then stay away from trouble. And this is why I always say it is very important for us to build communities, positive society, and work together in unity. Because once we don't do that, we are fragmented. We are not seeing eye to eye. Sam has something against me. I have something against Sam. Our kids don't communicate. Then we don't see, there's no unity, there's no influence, positive influence. Everything becomes negative. And that negative influence, the kids are seeing parents are negative. They become negative. They go with negative. And people on the street, they're already the negative there. You're gonna find handful that are positive. So they're gonna grab them, their attention, and get them into stuff. So be there for your kid. I know bills need to be paid. We need to go to work. We need to eat. We need to take care of our houses, clothing, and all that. But if you have two parents in a family, one person can sacrifice at least to ease it out from those responsibilities going to work. Be there for your children until they become fully responsible. And then as far as, economical impact or economical situation, that has also caused this violence, crime. People don't have money. These people who go and steal, even in the Gambia, they didn't go and steal because they enjoy doing it. They went to steal because they had no choice. But I mean no choice. I could be wrong if I said no choice. But they have few choices and they want easy choice. They couldn't find job. How many youths are in the Gambia without a job? Tons of youths. The government is not providing them sufficient jobs. And these kids become lazy. So they have no other easy way out is to go and rob somebody, which they know their life is at risk, but they do it anyway. So we need to fight poverty, starting from home and abroad. How do we fight poverty? We have to be self. We have to start from self, and then our governments need to look at where they can help for unemployment. There's a lot of land in the Gambia. We can talk about agriculture the whole day. We can talk about irrigation the whole day. We can talk about, creating skill, jobs. Skills. Investing in schools that will create skill training for people to become carpenters, all kind of employment, plumbers and so forth. These are all areas that people can learn to become, self-skilled and use that to become financially empowered. So the government need to look at those and create incentive for those. As individuals, we need to get out from our comfort zone. To say that somebody, I have a brother in Europe or in America or somewhere, that's not the way out. We need to start taking at least the little money that we got and invest it. Trying to become business oriented. We need to start to think outside the box and outside our comfort zone and try to be creative as individuals. Trust me, we all have brains. It's the way we use it. If we use our brain in the right way, productive way, we will be productive. If we use it unproductively, we will not. So I think we have personal responsibility to stay out of poverty. I understand, we don't have inheritance like the Caucasian do, but there are many tools out there now. With a little bit of money, you can go online and create a lot of opportunities for yourself. You can do online learning. You can look at YouTube and, learn other, practices. And of course, we need to support our families, so that we can come out of this poverty. Because most of these kids that are going out and creating violence crime, they don't have the money. They are robbing people because they want to live. It's just that they're doing it in the wrong way. instead of going and doing it the hard way, which is to go and work or train for something, they chose to go and do harm to people. So I think with the collaboration with the government and our society and our individuals, we can overcome, at least not become rich, but at least this poverty that is causing us to steal or create violent crimes. So I will stop here, Sam. I know I spoke about whole dimension of areas, but I'm trying to look at from back home perspective and from US perspective or the West perspective, how to combat violent crime. Thank you.
Absolutely, Mr. Sawaneh. Thank you. Thank you. Definitely. You've spoken quite a bit, about this, and really appreciate that too as well. And one important thing is that you said is looking at the root cause. Root cause is always something that we need to look at, definitely. And that's why when experts sit and talk, and as part of security reform that should have happened in Gambia didn't happen, all of those would be things that they would be considering as well. Well, we know in Gambia, how things are. And I'm glad you talked the broader aspect of it, including overseas security and things that we need to do and we can do in the society to help with security of people. One of the things that I'll say, and of course, Gambia, we all know, lack of opportunities. I know that the government cannot employ everyone there, but the government create avenues for people to get employed. And that is one area that they made very difficult on and not doing enough. They're not doing enough to create those avenues for our youths to do that. The other part that I want to talk about, though, is in terms of what the people can do, what society can do. Back in the days, a few years ago, I was an instructor for my company, and I taught different courses for my company people. And one of those courses is site security, security. And I used to go into why you have robberies. What can we do to deter robbery? Very important, those robberies are happening in Gambia. And today I'm going to give a piece of advice here on that as well, because this is all part of crime that is happening in our country. Robbers look at two things. They weigh two things, and that is the risk versus the reward. Those are the two things that they look at. The risk, when you talk about the risk, they know that when they go to rob a place, they are risking their lives. They are risking the fact that they could be caught. And when they get caught, they will be taken to prison for sure. They know that. They also know that they could be killed. In America here, you will see intruders going to people's properties and they get shot and killed because is trespassing at somebody's property. And that person, the owner of the property, has every right to defend and stand their ground. So you go and break into somebody's house, they can shoot and kill you. It can happen in America. And unfortunately, Gambia is not in that situation. They're not equipped to do that. Not every household in Gambia has a gun, to protect themselves. So, but what can people do, and what can businesses do? Why are people even going into a robber business, for example? Well, they want the money. That's it. They want the money. They want the quick cash. That's one of the reasons why robbers go to rob. They want a quick cash, even though they look at the risk versus reward. The reward, they ask themselves, how much money can I get here? Well, they don't know how much money you have there, but they do know that you do keep money in there. If they know that you keep money in your property, in your business, you become a target. They will come rob you. And if they come rob you and they're able to go with 500,000 or more, guess what? They will be back. They will find a way to come back because they got some money, right? Gambian businessmen and women are not really, most of them are not really paying attention to this, or either they don't know it, or I'm not sure what is their problem, but money does not belong in a store. Money does not belong in your house. Money belongs to the bank, all right? Your money belongs to your bank account. You put it in your bank account. and you take out what you need for your personal business. If it's for a business standpoint, you take out what you need for your business, but you save the money in the bank, not in your property. This is why not once, not twice, not three times, I've heard in Gambia, robbers and armed robbers went to a business, they got millions or hundreds of thousands. Why? Because they keep it there. You know, in a business, when you operate a business, the money you make today, you lock it in the safe. Tomorrow, you take it to the bank and just leave your change fund. Change fund is the fund that you should have for someone that brings $100 a bill. You need to be able to give them change, right? And someone that comes and buys something and give you a $20 a bill, you need to be able and buy something that's $15.94. You need to be able to give them change. That is your change fund. That's all you need to carry in your store. As a businessman, any business operator, the money that you, the revenue that you collect from your business every day need to go to the bank the next day, because by the time you close your business that day, the banks are already closed. So you should have a secure place, a safe that cannot be broken into easily. If you're making millions, you've got to be able to afford to get a good safe there that is a time lock safe that cannot be opened in just one click. They have timers. You have to wait for 10 minutes. Well, robbers don't have 10 minutes to wait. They want to come in and get quick cash. They want to get in and rob and get the cash and go. So because if they wait any longer, they could be caught there. So a time lock safe is very important. If you're doing a business and you're generating thousands and hundreds of thousands, you should be able to afford to buy yourself a safe. So every money that you collect on your business on a daily basis, you drop it in the safe and you lock that safe. The safe is bolted to the ground. The safe cannot be moved. You cannot take it. They cannot, you have to come with special tools to be able to remove a safe. All right, that's what needs to happen. So that the next day, when you come to work, you can count all the money that you collected yesterday and take it to the bank and deposit it there. If a robber comes to rob you, they can only get the money that is in your drawer, in your register. And that's the change fund that you have in there. And that change fund could be anywhere less than $200. It could be $200, $300, $400. If a robber comes to rob you and all they got there is $300, that's when they look at it and say, this is not worth the risk, because robbing a place to get only $300 there is not worth going to jail. It's not worth going to prison. It's not worth them being caught and beaten to death. It's not worth being caught or even shot or stabbed to death. All of those is not worth. So any robber that goes to rob a place and you only got a couple hundred, they are never going back there, because it's not worth. That tells them you don't keep your money there. Your money goes to the bank. All right, that's what needs to happen. But in Gambia, I'm hearing robbers are getting millions. When I hear that, I say that's shame on them. That is their fault. They should not have kept that much money there. Money needs to be taken to the bank. So if you're operating a business in Gambia, take your money to the bank. Do not leave it in your store, because you're setting yourself for failure. You're setting yourself up to be robbed by the robbers, the armed robbers. They will come in and want to get all that money. And if they do, it's your problem. It's your fault. You caused it. So my advice is take the money to the bank. Every day, count your money, take it to the bank every day. So when a robber comes in and rob your place, they only got a couple hundred or maybe even less than 300. They will not be back. They will not be back. But if they get more, they know, this is where the money is. I will be back. They'll give you another 6 months, 7 months, 8 months until you forget about this past robbery. Then they show up again and rob you to get everything that you've been putting together. And this is how your business can really collapse and you go out of business. So for businessmen and women, take that advice. Do not leave any money in your store. Take it to the bank the next day. And also, if you're making money, you need to be able to reinvest into your business by getting yourself a time lock safe. All right. So people in the society carrying expensive jewelry and cell phones in your hands and displaying them and showing off yourself on the street, you become a potential target. And the bad boys that are out there don't have a job. They don't even have money to buy a tire. They don't have money to buy the cigarettes that they want to smoke. or anything else that they want to smoke, and the drugs that they use, especially drug dealers or drug addicts, they're going to find a way to rob. If they see you carrying an expensive jewelry, they want to attack you and get that jewelry. They may not attack you because they want to kill you. No, they want to get that jewelry out of your hand so they can go and sell that and get a couple hundreds or thousands out of that. That's quick cash for them. So especially women need to stop carrying expensive jewelry when they're going out. If you're going to a program where you need to dress up and dress up with all your expenses, with everything that you have, expensive stuff, make sure you go with other people. Don't be by yourself, and do not come home late. Late evening, because visibility goes down. This is an opportunity for robbers, for people, the bad guys, to attack someone, knowing that if you attack someone, it's already getting dark. You attack someone here, no one can see you from a distance. They would want to do a quick attack and get something and run. But daylight, yes, people, you want to attack somebody here, someone that is at the end of that corner can see you, and they will be able to identify and say, yep, it was a guy that has a blue shirt and a black hat, and they can describe you just like that. Well, nighttime, you cannot describe a robber. You cannot describe someone that attacks someone on the street because it's dark already. So women need to avoid coming home alone and coming home in dark. If you go out to a naming ceremony or any kind of program, make sure you get home early enough before dark, or at least go home with other people. Go with people and come home with people. If you do that, robbers also, and the bad guys also, don't want witnesses. They don't want anybody to be able to stand in the court and say, yep, it's him. Be able to identify them and say, yep, this is the guy I saw. So they don't want witnesses. So if you go along with someone, chances are you don't get robbed, and you have a 50% chance, because you're with someone. If a robber or someone attack you personally, the person that you with may be able to help fight that. So with two people, it's easier for one person to attack one person rather than one person attacking two people. So all of these things are things that are out there, and the bad guys look at all of this. So this is in addition to what I said about self-security. We need to be able to really protect ourselves, self-protection, in other words, to be able to protect ourselves in the society, in Gambia especially. I'm talking more for Gambia, even though in America, like I said, we could, like Sawaneh said, all of the things that he said, I totally agree with them as well. We need to do all that. But my advice today goes more for people in Gambia, because they don't have the security they need. The security forces are not there to help them. And if we ask ourselves, just like what Mr. Sawaneh asked earlier, why now? Well, it's simple. Why now we have this high crime? When Drammeh was in power, he had junglers. Even though that's not the responsibility of the junglers, how he armed the junglers is how he should have armed the police. Give them vehicles, give them weapons, give them everything that they need, communication sets. The police would have been able to handle that. But people in Gambia back in the days, they know junglers are out, and the junglers kill people. So the bad guys will stay away from that. When the junglers left, when Drammeh left and the junglers stopped operating, then people know the police don't have anything, no weapons, nothing, no transportation. You have a crime in Gambia, in some areas of Gambia, you call the police, they say, well, we don't have any transportation. Even if they have transportation, they say, well, we don't have any fuel. All right. And not only that, even if they come, in some cases, they ask you to hire a taxi, for a taxi, so you go pick them up to take them. This is sad, very sad. How can the society call a taxi, get a taxi to go pick up a police officer whose job is to get to the crime scene ASAP? That is very sad. That should not be happening in our community, in our society. That is the government's responsibility, to arm the police, provide everything they need to be able to protect people. And so that's the reason why now. The reason why now is the police are not armed and there's no more junglers. That's what it is. If anything, the government, the government can use the power that they sent to the people, to attack people that are on a peaceful demonstration. They have the constitutional and fundamental right to go out and voice their opinion are being attacked by the paramilitary. That shouldn't be happening. Well, how about use those paramilitary to go after the criminals? Because the people on their liberty and the people that are demonstrating out in the street, they have that constitutional right to do that.
Yeah,
all right.
Exactly.
So why attack them? Go after the criminals. Go let the para patrol the whole city and the whole town, everywhere, every night, so they can keep the bad guys out. If the bad guys know that para is coming or the paras are around and they are patrolling, they have weapons, they have tear gas, they have all of that stuff, they will stop the crime. That's what the government needs to do. But again, the main function of the police is to do that, to protect the internal security. That's what the government needs to focus on. I'm just saying, use the para because the para is there. You don't use the para only to go attack your own people. Let them attack the criminals, not the people, not the society. So I'm going to stop here for now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sam, I'm gonna go to the question phase, so we can you can ask me and I can ask you as well. Since our guests are not here today. Now, I know we talked about the government responsibility. What are the parents' responsibility on your end to combat this this violence?
Yeah, parents, for parents is the normal fundamental principles that any head of household should do. Lead by example, do what is necessary for your people, coach and develop and train your kids to be good kids, respectable kids, people that are going to be respectful to people as well, people that are going to work to earn their living, not to steal and not to commit crimes. All of the basic fundamentals that we all did at home, that our parents did for us, is the same thing we need to do for our children, to train them to be on that path, to make sure they cannot take something that don't belong to them. If we train our people, our kids like that, and we role model that ourselves, it's going to help. If you look at it, even civil servants, if you're a civil servant, you work for the government, for example, all right, your salary is what, 3, 4, 5,000, and you want to build a mansion, you want to build a story building. Your children, by the time they grow up, they're going to realize that, well, in Gambia, the salary is nothing. How did you build that house? All of these that means you stole the money somewhere. You stole the money. That is not a good role model for any family. You need to work and earn your living and show the true color of who you are. And that's what you're going to portray to your children and want them to follow your footsteps. Work, sweat, and earn your living. That gives you peace at home. When you're at home and you don't have to worry about you work and earn your living, you won't have to worry about anybody coming to ask for their money. You won't have to worry about anybody coming to do anything to you. You will not have to worry about the government after the change of government. You will not have to worry about investigations that will come along and seize your property, your compound, and kick you and your family out, because it ends up that way. So why do it now? So these are role models that we need to do at home. If we role model that one and let our children know that, yes, the government is not going to be the one that's going to provide everyone a job. They cannot do that. They just need to open the opportunities and the avenues for people to get that. If not, then it's the parents' responsibility to make sure we teach our children to and guide them to do something that is going to put them on the path to success and not a path to criminal activities. Yep.
All right. Guiding is one thing, but what about if there's no money? I mean, you're telling your kids, oh, don't steal, don't do robbery, don't attack people, but you are in poverty. And then this world is, we have a lot of things happening. People like cell phones now. If you look at back home, before during our time, there's no cell phone.
Yep.
Today, somebody would steal because of mobile phones. I've seen some people stole, rob people just because of mobile phone.
Yeah. Yeah. They'll steal your cell phone. Yeah. They'll steal it from you
They
too.
break your
Yeah.
house because of
Yeah.
that.
Yep. Yep. So
This societal pressure, the peer pressure from from the society of this mentality that you gotta get a nice phone, gotta get a nice sneaker, you gotta be able to fit in. If you don't get certain things, you're worthless. All these things, beside not having breakfast, lunch, and dinner in a home. So all these things are pressures that nowadays is an issue. Even the elderly folks want cell phone. Sometimes they want more than one cell phone. Not even a joke, I'm telling you. So what about this poverty that that people are trapped in, that is causing this? Because I'm pretty sure if they have, they wouldn't go and rob somebody. It takes a lot to go and rob somebody. You can get killed.
Yep.
It's a lot of risk. Yeah. So what do you think?
So yeah, when it comes to poverty, it is the government's responsibility to handle that, and that has something to do with our economy.
How is
how? All right. Yep. I'll get there. I'm getting there. So there are different reasons. One is, examples that I gave in my comprehensive civil service reform. The government need to be able to really put a minimum wage in Gambia for all civil servants to be able to get a higher pay at such a minimum, with a minimum wage. And like I said in my my video is start with 5,000. You can't jump. I know 5,000 is not enough. It's really not enough. I know that, but you can't go from 0 to 10,000. That doesn't work either. You can't afford that. So if they uplift people and get them to 5,000 as a minimum wage, regardless of where you're going, that is a good start. Then Gambians also need to know that they have to try to live within their income. If your pay is 5,000, don't go rent a house that's 5,000, because you know what? That's how much your rent is. If you rent a house that's 5,000, that's what your pay is. How are you going to live? How are you going to buy food for your people? You can't do that. So we need to cut our coat according to a size. So that's one. The other part is, and all of this is the National Assembly's responsibility. The National Assembly is the one that really need to pass the law to get Gambia to go to a minimum wage. Now, which is going to force the executive branch, the government, to get to that minimum wage being a law at that point, to move everybody's salary there, which is good. And then they can do a progressive salary increase every year until they get to 10,000 within 5 years. Okay. So they can do that. The other part is the same National Assembly need to pass a law to put a debt ceiling on Gambia's loans. Put a debt ceiling, so the government cannot keep borrowing and borrowing loans. And when the loans get there, they share that money. They take it. Everybody wants to get something out of it and leave the poor people still poor. Okay. If there's a debt ceiling, that the government cannot take any more loans. Once we get to this, that's it. We've got to start paying. Well, that's going to force the government to be more efficient by managing their resources, because there's no more loan coming. The National Assembly is not going to approve any more loans. It will force them to control the funds that they get. And it will force them to generate more revenue. It will force them to look into corruption and stop the corruption, because you know what? If not, the civil servants will not get paid. It will force them to do a lot of things, including creating job opportunities for people, open revenues. When an investor wants to come and invest, make it easy for them. Don't make it hard. Don't try to get money from them under the table before you can give them a permit. No, give them a permit with conditions. If you're going to operate such a business in our country, we want 95% of your employees to be Gambians. This will stop the Chinese from bringing their own Chinese to drive a forklift in Gambia. A forklift is a forklift. Anybody can, a lot of people out there that can drive a forklift. a lot of people there that can do a simple jobs that does not require an expertise. So, and same thing with the Indians, same thing with all the foreign companies that came to Gambia and operated their business there. The government can put that condition there. 95% of your employees must be Gambians. The remaining 5%, yes, can be your experts, right? If they put those conditions there, then now Gambians will have a job because those companies will have to hire Gambians. It will take people from sitting down and drinking a tie every day to going to work and get and earn their money, while the salary is up there now. Is no longer 2,000, no longer 3,000, no longer 4,000. Minimum. The bare minimum is 5,000, which means every company has to hire people above the 5,000. And when they do that, when you create a minimum wage like that, not only you're gonna impact the people that are making less money to move them to the 5,000, but then people that are already at 5,000, what do you do for them? Well, here's what you do. It's a strategy. It's something that the experts need to sit and check. If you look at the lowest paid person in Gambia government or in Gambia, and you're going to move them, say they are making 1,000, or so let's say 2,000. The lowest paid person makes 2,000, for example, a month, and you're going to move them to the minimum wage because the law has been passed by our National Assembly to 5,000. Well, you're going to look at what percentage is that. You divide that 2,000 by the 5,000, get the percentage. That is the percentage of increase that you need to give to the other person that's already at 5,000 or 6,000 or 7,000. Now you uplifted the whole country's salary. This is, and at that point, from that point moving forward, anyone that get hired by the Indian company, by the Chinese, by any company has to start them at 5,000 minimum. This will bring a good uplift and help minimize the poverty because people are getting jobs. All companies are investors that are coming are hiring Gambian people, but all those who are currently working are also getting a better pay. And if they cut their coat according to their size by trying to live within the income that they have, they will be just fine. And then start to build the economy. There are certain things that I won't get into that also help build the economy that the government need to go with. And the people that are economists will be able to tell them more about that.
Okay, so that is good. Now, you're talking about the civil servants having to have salary increase, which will help the household, kind of maintain the household. That's good. And then perhaps that would deter crimes because some of these young people who go out and steal or create violent crimes would probably be, probably will be taken care of if they are, family members or parents, having decent salaries and so forth, right? That's what you're driving at.
Yep. Along that line, yes.
Yeah, because I don't think civil servant will be involved with, violent crimes like that if they are working and making money to at least taking care of their own, business.
Yep.
So, but the problem is the only issue that the most bulk of the issues lies on families, members who are not directly receiving income.
Yep.
Do most of those are the ones who, unless it's a domestic violence, which husband and wife or children, had a fight and so forth. But you're talking about the robbery that we're talking about, then the violence crime we are seeing that are happening now more often is because of lack of, families, members of families being taken care of hasn't that has something to do with it. So you're saying that if the household incomes have been increased to meet the demands, that would control that. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's going to control that part. And the other part for people that don't have a job is how they are handled is a couple ways. One of them is what I mentioned. One is the government to open up and allow investors to come in, looking at their contract, black and white contracts that they sign with these companies to make sure that at least, like I said, at least 95% of the employees should be Gambian. That is what's going to take the people off the street, because then now there's opportunity for all of them to get a job, because all these companies cannot bring their own people. Indians are not going to be able to bring their own people. And if an Indian company exists in Gambia and they have 150 employees, for example, well, guess what? At least 100 of them will be Gambians. They will be able to hire people that are sitting that don't have a job. Same thing applies to the Chinese. Same thing applies to other places. And going back to that is one way to create jobs. That's why I said government cannot create jobs for everyone, but they can open up avenues. They can take avenues that will create jobs for people. The other part that the government can do is, like I mentioned in another video that I made in the Jahal Pachar project, that is the big project, a big project that is going to put a lot of Gambians to work. A lot of people.
Yeah, we will have
a lot of backway people that are sitting down there don't have a job. They can all get jobs, different jobs at Jahal Pachar with incentives, incentives for people, for all of them. Even though I included the prisoners and I said Mile 2 need to close and then have the prisoners work there, there will be incentives for everyone working there. But the most important part is going to also create jobs for men and women, not just men and women that want to go to rice field and go cultivate rice at Jahal Pachar, which could be expanded throughout the country, because they will come up with irrigation systems. These are all the things that our Ministry of Agriculture need to try to plan and get something in line and try to get a budget to start something. But if these are not happening, and we're seeing more budget going into the State House, which is only feeding the State House, it's not feeding the country, that's bad. That's really bad. The State House budget, if you look at it, is more than the budget for a lot of ministries. That's the wrong way to go. You're going in the wrong direction. That money need to be taken out of the State House budget. Whatever the State House is spending on, cut it out, invest it into healthcare and agriculture and education, forestry, and on fisheries. You have all these departments that need. We're talking about security here. Our police don't have cars. They can't even get weapons. They don't even have bicycles. So
do they have watchdogs?
Watchdogs?
Dogs?
With the police Gambia? I don't know. I don't know if they have dogs. I don't think so. That's in America. You have canines. Like here in my house, when I step out of my door, one second house is a police officer that has a canine. Then you go third one, across the street from that third one is a police officer with a canine. You have those. So there's security. They all have police cars. And then if you step out right now, you'll see 2 police cars on my street right now. 2 police cars. So if we have this in Gambia, by providing the police all of those things, and they have patrol vehicles all over the place, anywhere you go, any street you see, there are police cars there, is going to help minimize crime. But anyway, that is on that side. But I wanted to make sure that along the side of employment opportunities, those are some of the things. There's a lot of opportunities in the Gambia, a lot of resources in Gambia that we can utilize to create employment opportunities for people and not rely on any foreign aid or any foreign loans. Nothing. Gambia can do that. It just needs to take the right people to do it. And unfortunately, we don't have those right people yet. We don't have them yet.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. This is very engaging conversation right here. I think sometimes we need to just come out from our comfort zone, and then look at problems realistically, and then think outside the box. Because if we keep doing the same thing and expect different results, that is entirely the definition of insanity, right?
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
So we need to change something. I know when it comes to Gambia, partly, the security issue has to be blamed on the government. Why? Because they let loose and they cannot control. I love, the democracy aspect of things. Let people be free. I don't know whether this was, there was one American president who said that, talk softly and carry a big stick. I forgot who said that.
I don't know.
You talk softly, and you carry a big stick as a leader.
Yep.
You know, you don't. You know that means, hey, I'm nice, but if anybody does wrong, the stick is for you. So I think those kind of approach is what our leadership needs.
Yeah.
So I know Drammeh was tough on crimes. He did combat crimes, but he was also a super killer. So you can give him credit on one side, but look at the other side, he kind of messed up. So in a situation like that, we need a leader that could be soft, let democratic process goes. People are free to speak their mind. But when it comes to violent crimes, crimes in general, they should be on top of that. That has nothing to do with freedom. Because if you show people that if you do crime, we're gonna lock you up, we're gonna give you maximum and you give the right resources to the right law enforcement folks, and you are tough on crime, that will mitigate crime. That has nothing to do with democracy. You can have both. Okay, so even in the US here, there are some governments, especially the Republican Party, when they come in government, some of their leaders were actually tough on crime. Okay, so I think it depends on the leadership. So that's why, this current leadership need to gear up when it comes to violent crimes. They need to have police presence everywhere. They need to have good communication tools. They need to have sustainable vehicles. The police, the law enforcement should have more vehicles than anyone, any entire sector. They should have communication tools, intelligence, especially the police, professionalism, training. Instead of, not everything is about beating people. You gotta, they have to have right approaches. And then they also have to be proactive. Do a lot more street patrols and so forth. Have the intelligence, with the military and other areas. So I think, we need an entire security reform in that country. Yeah. So that is
long overdue. Security reform is long overdue.
So that is the key. And what else can I think of? I think basically that is important. So when you look at the societal, responsibility, we spoke about that, parenting, good parenting, and also we spoke about, individual, and jobs, having to, create jobs and incentive for jobs, especially the government, opening loopholes. And when we talk about, incentives for youths to go, these skill training schools and invest in agriculture, all these are areas that can mitigate crimes because people will be financially sustained. And that's what we want. Once people become financially, but let we have, let's not just have the rich being richer and the poor being poorer. Let's have a diverse economy, focus on rural areas as well. We can have, we have rural urban migration, but we can have reverse urban rural migration, whereby we have more people going to the rural areas and creating facilities there for them to, use and empower themselves financially. So all these things have, societal responsibility as well as the government responsibility. We have to work collectively to save our country, the Gambia. And those of us abroad who have families there, we have to work as a community. It doesn't matter, African community, African American community, Gambian community. We all have to connect and know that we have a responsibility to make sure that our children, our community stays, away from violent crimes. That will just make us a better people and also successful people. And that's what I want to say. So Sam, you have the floor. If you have any any last word to say about this entire topic, or if you think like we missed any areas so far?
No, this is an open conversation, is an open topic, and you can go in different dimensions and different directions and still talk about the same issues facing Gambia. You know, is sad that our country, since independence, we are where we are today, and we should have passed this long time ago. Today is not the day that we should have police officers out there with not even a flashlight, or maybe only a flashlight in their hand. You know, they don't have proper uniforms. You look at some of them, you know, they're look at their shoes, look at their uniforms. I mean, they're not paid. They're not paid to sacrifice their lives. You know, there's a lot of things that are unfortunate for us, and it all comes down to leadership. And you mentioned leadership. Leadership is not just being about, you know, being soft and carry a big stick with you, which is true. You can be soft and carry a big stick, but it comes with responsibilities. You know, a leader should be someone that can be there for their people. That number one has the love for their country, the vision, the honesty. They have to be honest. They have to be trustworthy. They have to be someone that is really can lead by example, not lead by force. You cannot lead people by force. You have to lead by example, by holding yourself accountable first, and then hold your people accountable. All of these, there's a lot of things to say about leadership, you know, and unfortunately, we don't have that right leader. We don't have those right leaders in our country to really move us into that direction yet. So Sadauda Jawara, President Jawara did very well. I mean, he was a great leader. I would say that he was a great leader that really honored and respected democracy and let people have their freedom. And he let that happen, you know, and you know, but when it comes to corruption, he couldn't control that very well. So and it started there, and that same corruption is going higher and higher and higher every time. So there's a lot of problems for our country. There's a lot of problems for our country, and the only person that can change it is the leader. The leader is the one that can change it. Other than the leader, anyone that comes in and want to fight corruption, they will fight you instead. Yeah, you want to fight corruption, they will fight you, because if a lot of people in the top are corrupt, no matter what you bring, they are not going to listen to that. They're not going to want to implement them, because that's going to close their pockets. And they don't want their pockets closed. They want to live the luxury life that they have. And unfortunately, that makes the poor people poor. You know, is a bad situation that we're in now. You know, it needs the right leader. We don't have that leader yet. We need to find that right leader that is going to come in and be strong enough to be honest to himself, hold himself accountable, declare their assets from day one, and be able to say, look, this is what we're going to do, and hold himself accountable, and to be able to immediately someone steals the government funds, Gambian people's funds, arrest them, prosecute, take them to prison. When he does that one time, twice, another minister, another director, another minister here, another director, very soon you'll see everybody will start to keep their hands off government property, because it doesn't belong to them. And they don't know, unfortunately, the long-term effect of that is when there is a change of government and there's accountability, they're going to do all those accountability. They're going to go back and see who worked in so-and-so place. How much money did we lose in here? Who were the people responsible? They will go after them and seize their assets, kick them out of their compounds. Now they created themselves a lot of problems for their families, because they will not have a place to go. Their bank accounts will be frozen. Their compounds, their properties they have will all be confiscated. Where are they going to go? They're going to go from rich to very poor, not just poor, but very poor, because they're not going to have any funds in their bank account to use. So they're going to end up begging or relying on the other family members to help them. Well, I say, start working on that now. Stop taking government money. Let the government spend the money on the people and developing the country and move the country forward. So it takes the right leader to do this, to do that. And that's the leadership that we are lacking. We don't have that yet.
Yeah. All right. So I think Sam, that being said, in order to summarize this particular topic, we just said that we looked at the different areas that we need to look at, which is to look at our collective responsibility as a community, individual responsibility, the government responsibility, the jobs, and also and then also like deter crime by punishing people, to make sure that they know that this is wrongful crimes that they did, and that will hopefully deter the crimes. So I think that being said, we almost covered everything around this area, and looking at not only in the Gambian scope, but also outside the Gambia. So hopefully our viewers could benefit from this, and our governments could benefit from such a discussion, and then try to gear up the ways, their approach towards crime. You can have democracy, but you still can maintain this country secure by invest on security, and making sure that you are tough on security, fight crimes, and deter crimes. I think with that, we could probably see a lot of changes within our communities. Yeah. Your final thought?
Yeah, my final thought or final advice here I will give is for Gambian people. You see, if you see this, all the problems that we have in our country, and a lot of problems that we have in our country, we need to ask ourselves, who is representing us in the government? It's the National Assembly members. Those are the people that the Gambian people elect from their different or various constituencies to go represent them, make good laws for the country, hold the government accountable, hold the executive accountable. And so it's very important that this upcoming elections, that we select the right people. Any National Assembly member that was there in the last 5 years and has not done anything for you, has not stood up and asked the government and hold the government accountable, they've not done their part, do not vote for them again, because that's going to make matters worse. Do not give your cards, the voter registration cards, or do not vote for people that are not going to make a difference in your life. Do not vote for people that are going to hand the government's coffers to the president and the executive and say, here you go, whatever you want, that's what we're here for. You do not vote for people that are going to be yes sir people. We need to vote for people that are going to be true to themselves and know that people voted for them to go represent them in the National Assembly, make good laws, eliminate the bad laws, create new laws, change the laws that need to be changed, hold the government accountable, pass a good budget for them. These are part of their responsibilities. When the budget comes from the State House or from the government, they can say, we're not going to approve this, because what's put into the State House or what is put into the Ministry of Finance or any place is not right. They need to say no to that budget, let them go and revise the budget and bring it back for them to look at it again. They need to be people that can stand for their people and help combat corruption in our country. So I'm urging all Gambians, this upcoming National Assembly election, elect the right people. Don't elect people because you know them. Don't elect people because you like them. Don't elect people because they're in the same party with you. Elect people that are going to stand to help Gambia move forward and stop this nonsense corruption and stop all the things that are bad for our country, and look for something and look at the future and people that have a vision for our country. Those are the people we need to elect. So thank you. I'm going to end here today. Thank you so much. And thanks to all our viewers. We appreciate this time.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. And then thanks our viewers for listening. I hope this is a fruitful discussion. And then those who haven't had the opportunity to watch it could watch it later and send their comments. Thank you.
Thank you, and have a great evening.
Good evening. Rest of the weekend. Thank you.
Yep. All right.